Refining your story by going back to the beginning. Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries and The Art Deco Mysteries and other tales and plays and short stories. In these videos, I discuss whatever tickles my fancy writing-wise or what might be happening in current publishing news. I post these videos on Facebook as well as YouTube and a few others, so please like and subscribe if you will. And leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think and whether you have topics you'd like me to address. I'm open to them. But back to the book. Finishing that first draft is monumental, but that is just the beginning. I've often said I don't believe you know your story until you finish your first draft. By the time you reach the words "the end," your book has taken detours down other roads and somebody else's map. You might wind up miles away from where you started and miles away from where you thought you'd end up. That's where I am with my next Art Deco mystery, titled These Crooked Things, which follows Crook Tales for Two, the first book in the series. Today I am revisiting the beginning to see if it relates to the conclusions in a realistic way. In other words, is the story earned? Because I now have more information than I started with. There are points along the way where I can build in action and characters or see if they are justified. By the end of the draft, I can see things that happened along the way and in the past that help explain the action. That's where the rewriting kicks in. And did I mention that this is the fun part? The book picks up where Crook Tales for Two ends. It is just before Thanksgiving 1934 in New York City. Esme de la Forêt is engaged to millionaire English expat Graydon Chase, and her hit play is reopening at the Hawthorne Theater. She doesn't count on Graydon's aristocratic parents to pop up, nor does she anticipate tumbling into another murder investigation with her fiancé. In the beginning, I didn't know what I'd find, but here is the beginning of These Crooked Things. Chapter 1. I'd seen dead things before, including the desiccated carcass of a coyote nailed to a fence, but I'd never seen anything as dead as Duncan Balmain, stretched out on the expensive Persian carpet in his lavish Upper East Side apartment. Once the antic party boy, known for his pranks and good looks, Duncan was a lifeless shell in a tuxedo and white shirt, his perpetual tan fading to ashes. He lay on his back, jacket open, revealing a bullet hole in his chest, hands up, eyes half closed. A spot of blood marred the front of his shirt, but much more had seeped through the exit wound on his back onto the expensive rug. Although his position suggested that he had been surprised, there was no expression on his face. Whatever he had been thinking, he took to his grave. Many would say he got what he deserved. Duncan's reputation came with a lot of baggage, a rich boy who bought his way out of troubles. But not this time. It seemed his dance with the Grim Reaper had come and gone in a rapid foxtrot. He was 29 years old. The surroundings were handsome and modern, in various soothing shades of green. Pictures on the wall were slanted as if caught in the fracas. The scene was disturbed by several overturned lamps, a coffee table on its side, a smashed mirror, and a corpse sprinkled with shards of glass. I scanned the room and spotted a bloody hunting knife a foot or so from the body. A gun looked like it had been flung onto the sofa. Graydon and I had arrived at Duncan's swanky uptown apartment a few minutes before. Needless to say, we never expected to see the owner laid out on the floor lifeless. We were dressed for a party, not a death scene, and we hadn't intended to stay long. Graydon was in his top hat and tails, looking insanely suave, but quiet and sober. My sky blue silk gown featured plenty of sparkles and sequins that clung to my figure. It was not quite suitable to the November chill, yet it was the style, and every woman at the gala wore even skimpier dresses. A butler opened the apartment door to us, led us into the generous foyer, and took our wraps. I patted down my hair in a mirror over a marble console, decorated with a few items, including a handsome marble bowl where someone had left a ring of silver keys, one of which was a bent skeleton key, like one of these that we have for our very old house. Attached to the ring was a round medallion with the initials DB in a fancy script. The butler returned and ushered us inside the living room. There was a sharp smell of iron and gunpowder in the air. We hadn't been informed that this investigation involved a death, and we were led to the living room where the body remained. I gasped and held my breath, but did not scream. "Have the police been called?" Graydon asked. That's the snippet from Chapter 1. This opening is mostly intact from my initial draft, though it is still subject to change. However, I added some things. The weapons, for instance, a hunting knife and a gun. I hadn't accounted for them, and readers are picky about that sort of thing. I also added a key element, if you'll excuse the pun. The marble bowl contains a keyring with a skeleton key, which comes into play later. By the end of the book, I know a lot of things I had no idea about previously. They include: the deceased was a member of a secret society from his college years at Yale. And no, it's not Skull and Bones. I call it Key and Casket, where every member was given a special box that opens with a skeleton key. Secrets written in college journals turn out to be worth killing over. And Esme de la Forêt's future father-in-law is Lord Cyril Chaseborn, a bit of a snob. He was in military intelligence during the Great War and wants to insert himself into her and Graydon's investigation. It is most inconvenient. Gangster going straight, Frank Romeo finds his way into the action by opening a legit nightclub. These are just a few of the things that pop up to gum up the works and make it louder, faster, and funnier. Keep in mind when you write, that outline you may have slaved over is subject to revision. You simply have to be open to the possibilities. That's all I have for now. Let me know how it goes, and I'll see you next time. Bye.